Hi, this is Dr. Richard Maddow, and welcome to this week's edition of the Dental Practice Fixers podcast. We've got a great show for you today. Of course, our usual, but never unusual, but always unusual, mystery shopper calls. We've got a few of them today, but I cannot wait to get to. We've got an excellent listener question, and as you may see if you're watching this on video, which I know a percentage of you do, I brought in a special guest to answer our listener question this week. One of many listener questions we got, but I thought this was a really great one, so we'll be getting to that momentarily as well. And I'll be introducing our special guest. But before we do, I just want to remind you, I know I've been reminding you all the time, but please, if you're not listening, now is the time to realize that if you are using a regular processor for your credit cards, and what I mean is a patient gives you a credit card and you've got to pay not just MasterCard and Visa, but you have to pay a percentage to your credit card processor too. Chances are you're paying way too much. So you should do like we do here at the Maddow Center, and that is we use Fat Merchant for our credit card processing. They don't charge a percentage overage. They only charge a low, flat monthly fee, and we are saving thousands, and we know dentists who are saving not just hundreds, but thousands as well. And once you get it going, it's on autopilot. You don't have to do anything, and you save every single month. So if you want to switch to Fat Merchant, which I don't know why you wouldn't, we've got a special page just for you. It's maddow.com/save. Go to madow.com/SAVE. All right, we haven't taken any listener questions for a few weeks, and we get great questions. If we haven't gotten to yours yet, please don't be discouraged. I welcome you to write in. info@maddow.com will get the job done. But we've got a great question this week, which caused me to think, hey, I don't know the answer, so I'm going to bring in one of the best experts I know to answer the question. And here's the question. It says, Dear Fixers, I'm thinking of trying to beef up my Google game. How do you feel about SEO, which means search engine optimization, if you're not sure, versus PPC, which stands for pay per click? So how do you feel about SEO, search engine optimization, which means that somebody goes on Google and they just put in some terms and you come up what we might call organically, versus pay per click, in which you're actually paying for an ad? How are we going to compare those? And it's signed not being found. Ooh, that's a problem. Not being found in Columbus, Ohio. Well, I could give a few opinions on this, but I figure I'm good friends with one of the country's best experts in dental marketing, so why not bring him on? So I've got our friend, if you're watching the video, you can see. His name is David Herman, and he is the founder of Web Marketing for Dentists. So I've talked before about how you should always work with specialized professionals, whether it's your attorney, your accountant, your lease negotiator. People specialize in dentistry, so why not work with them? And David is a guy that does web marketing strictly for dentists, so he really knows the ins and outs, and I'm so glad he could join us. Welcome to the Dental Practice Fixers, David. How's it going?
Thanks so much. It's going great, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How's the world of web marketing for dentists in the pandemic era? Has the pandemic changed anything about the way you're helping your clients or the way people are searching?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in the first 2 months of the pandemic, we didn't even know if we would have a business left. And now we're just struck by how many people really need to get out there and start marketing, and how things have changed a little bit. We went through a whole process with many of our clients of switching to emergency dentistry, which was really successful because any of those dentists who were still open were really able to pull in patients that just couldn't get to their competitors anymore. So for a lot of people in a lot of states, that was really useful. But we've swung back a little bit more now towards the higher paying procedures, Invisalign, veneers, implants, those kind of things. But emergency is still a big pull for people. So that's gone really well. In the end, it worked out well, and it solidified our business.
Well, that's good to hear. And it's interesting that you said what you just said, because from what I know about your business and how you work with dentists, you tend to be more specific in naming procedures to help people find their dentist. You mentioned implants, Invisalign. Do you find that's a lot more useful than just having somebody out there as just dentist?
Sure. Yeah, we generally avoid the search term dentist as much as possible unless it has implant, Invisalign, veneer, some other procedure in front of it. We find that there are plenty of people who are very specific about the procedure they want or the issue they have. It may be something about missing teeth, which is people that probably are going to end up with some kind of implant solution at some point. But we find it much more useful to target those people, not only because those people are worth more in the end to the dentist and it gives a better return on investment for the marketing, but also really because dentist is a keyword. You pay as much to get somebody in just to come and have an emergency exam and some x-rays as you do for somebody that comes in and does an all-on-4 procedure. It's really the same price. It'll cost $100, $200 to get somebody in for any of those procedures. And of course, if you can then get somebody to spend $20,000 to $30,000 instead of $100 to $200, you're that much better off.
So when you come up with a marketing strategy for a dentist, it sounds like you're really kind of trying to pick a specific patient, somebody who you might, or we might call a higher dollar value patient. Is that the way you're seeing this?
Sure, we're definitely trying to do that when we can. Sometimes we have bread and butter dentists who just want to bring in more patients. We can do that as well. It's just we worry more about the return on investment and how quickly we can get to a point that the marketing does pay back. For us, marketing is not one of those things that you have to do because you have to do it. You should do it because it's going to return the investment. If it doesn't return the investment, really you should find another kind of marketing to do, or maybe not do marketing. That is an option. But it really shouldn't be making you lose money.
Well, but you can make it up in volume, right?
That's right. We're losing $25 on every patient, but if we get 1,000.
We have a ton of patients though, so things must be good.
Well, the truth is, I guess long term, I've seen numbers that say that a new patient is worth $100,000 over their lifetime. So I guess if you get 1,000 patients and you lose $25 on each of them, you spent $25,000, but technically you have $1 million worth of treatment that you're going to do. You have unlimited amounts that you can make from those patients. It just takes a long time. So it really becomes a cash flow issue. We very much are like a month-to-month agency. Like we want to do well right now. We're all focused on February. We know what happened in January. Now it's February. We don't live off our past glories for very long. We want to make money in February for our dentists. And having somebody come in February and then they close in June, we probably won't be able to track that properly. It's nice for the dentist and we want them to have every benefit from our marketing they can have, but we try to judge ourselves in the now, not in the what might happen in the future.
Oh, well, that makes sense. And look, let's face it, you can't pay your mortgage with, technically this patient's worth $100,000, Mr. Banker. That doesn't do it, right? You need the money in your account to pay that mortgage or for whatever else you want. So, okay, let's get to our question. I would imagine it's a question that you get all the time. I'm also guessing the answer may be way more complex than we can even talk about in the brief time constraints of our podcast, but it's a great question nonetheless. Is search engine optimization better, or is pay-per-click better, or is there really no answer to that?
So it's a great question. We have heard this question many times, and people often come with a particular preference. Often it's actually for SEO, because let's face it, it sounds really good, right? You don't pay anything to the owners of the search engine. You just pay somebody to get you into a position where then the clicks are free, right? Free clicks must be good. That sounds right. And I think that's why people go for it straight away. Why would you pay Google when you could get to the first position anyway on your own? So the big question there, of course, is, can you get to the first position on your own, or does paying Google actually get you something more? And in most cases, I think it comes down to two questions. The first question is a question of the location of the office. If you're in a big city, which Columbus, Ohio is a pretty big city. So if the person is technically in Columbus, Ohio, so I don't know, there's probably 1 million people in Columbus, Ohio. If you've got 1 million people who are searching on dentistry, I mean, obviously not the whole million is searching every month, but you've probably got thousands and thousands of searches in any given month. It's well worth your while having a goal of being first or second or third on the first page of results, so that you get a big chunk of those thousands of searches finding you. So that certainly makes sense. If you're in a small suburb outside of Columbus, and many people who tell us they're in a main city, by the time we look up their address, they're in, Highland Lakes, Ohio.
Right.
And suddenly you see Highland Lake's actually a small village with 7,000 people. So now being number one for searches among 7,000 people, not 7,000 searches, probably more like 20 searches, that's not as enticing a goal, and you're less likely to want to spend the money to get there. So a lot of it depends on your location. And that's something to be aware of, because it's very difficult to rank for Columbus if you're actually in Highland Lakes. There may not be a Highland Lakes, Ohio. I made it up.
It sounds like there would be, though.
It sounds like there would be, yeah. And if not, we should create one. We'll talk about that afterwards. So the second thing that you really have to focus on, besides location, is the speed with which you want to see leads coming into your office. If you are, like most offices, not doing particularly well in the rankings right now, and you're going to have to spend, probably we say 3 to 6 months to see the start of results. Often in bigger cities, it's more like 6 to 12 months. In super big cities, Manhattan, Chicago, LA, we would probably say to people, it's going to be more than 12 months. You have to commit to a couple of years. And even then, it gets very difficult to estimate where you would be. There's so many dentists. So many have been doing SEO for so long. It's very hard to know if you're ever going to make it. We always say we'll try hard, but we don't know if we'll be able to get in a position where we can generate leads. Now, compare that to pay-per-click. When we start with pay-per-click, if I don't get results day one, there's an investigation that goes on. What happened? How did we not have people going to the site? Where, Google wants your money, and they are willing to give you in return visits to your site. It's guaranteed. You pay for the click. You don't pay for exposure. You don't pay to be on the page. You pay when they click and visit your site. So that, by definition, is a whole different level of lead generation. Your chance, once you have, let's say, 100 people going to your website, if you don't get a bite from 100 people going to your website, something's wrong with the website, right? If they're all clicking on dental implants, let's say, is your keyword, and 100 people click and they don't click any further, they don't fill in a form or call you, there's a problem with the page. So in terms of instantaneous marketing, pay-per-click is still number one. In terms of making it, you don't have to worry about your location, pay-per-click is still number one. SEO, certainly, for most of our clients who do pay-per-click and SEO, the good news is that your theory about everybody's theory about free clicks, which is that's really going to give them a return on investment that's beyond pay-per-click, is true. Meaning the cost per lead when you are successful at SEO is much better, meaning a lower cost per lead in SEO as compared to pay-per-click. And, I'll tell you, it's like 3 times less. So if you're paying $90, let's say, on pay-per-click, you would probably be paying $30 at a maximum. We've got people that are paying $10 for a lead in SEO. So there is really a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's just about how you get there. And usually what I'll say to people is, listen, SEO is really a marriage, right? We have to get married and stay married for, at least 6 months to see results. Pay-per-click, we can do a 30-day trial and you should have results. You should have leads, and we should know what happened to those leads and did they close into new patients. So it's much more like just dating. So I usually say to people, why don't you just date me first? Let's do pay-per-click. If you do great in pay-per-click, I will be sure to start talking to you about SEO and how SEO might be even better than working on PPC together.
Wow, that's a great comprehensive answer. And it of course, brings to mind a question. And I'm not sure if there's actually data for this, or if it's too abstract, or if I even know how to word it correctly. But I know how I feel when I search for something and I go to a Google page. Is a pay-per-click result in a way like not as classy as an SEO result? Do you know what I mean by that?
Right. There is definitely a feeling that many people have that certainly a lot of people have said to me, but I never click on the pay-per-click ads, right? Because I'm smart and I know it's advertising and I want to get the authentic organic results. Of course, being behind the scenes on both of those areas, I know that we've manipulated the search engine optimization in such a way that we got you that position anyway, right? You're first in the organic listings because of things that we've done. You're at the top of the page in the Google ads because of things we've done. So it's kind of a fake distinction. And I think what we've seen with our dentists is we've constantly tried to say, let's look at the analysis and let's work out, is an implant lead, is an Invisalign lead, is a veneer lead better from organic or better from pay-per-click? And the bottom line is it varies and nobody really knows. There's no certainty to it whatsoever. You could get a great lead spending $70,000 from SEO. You could get the same person coming in from pay-per-click, and nobody cares. At the end of the day, we're the ones that are desperate to find out the difference. The dentists are like, why would I care? They're paying the $90 per lead in pay-per-click, even though they're getting $30, $20, $10 per lead in SEO. That none of them stop the pay-per-click because that is value at $90. I'll take the lead at $90 as well. Of course, I'll take it at $10. And if there's hard times, and this did happen, by the way, nobody quit SEO. Everybody carried on with SEO because that's your long-term banker. Pay-per-click, you know what? Let's take a break for a few months. That's what happened during COVID. You're able to take your foot off the gas by stopping your pay-per-click spend. SEO is just constant investment because you constantly want the cheapest possible leads. When you're in a mode of expansion, you're going to take even the expensive leads. It's just about getting the volume in.
But it kind of sounds like if you quit SEO for a while, then you're kind of placed to the back of the line when you want to start up again. Is that kind of true?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I think there's also a way of stopping SEO and kind of cruising a little bit. It's like you're accelerating along the highway. You take your foot off the gas. You still carry on because momentum just keeps you going. It's just you're giving all the people behind you a chance to go past you, which everybody gets nervous about. And it's difficult for us to quantify as well. I've always said that ideally, you would want to have these metrics where you can measure yourself and all of the, 30 people behind you. And when you know you're a mile in front of them, you can say, you know what, we can just kind of ease off and save on the gas a little bit, wait till they get to like half a mile away from you, and then accelerate forward again.
Right.
Ideally, that would be great. That, as far as I know, there is no real way to do that. You just keep going. You make 1 mile into 2 miles, into 3 miles, into 4 miles, and you just keep going because we're constantly nervous that somebody's going to come up super fast behind us and overtake us.
You know what else is really interesting that just came? I mean, it's like, duh, I should have thought of this, but I really didn't think about it clearly until you started describing all these things. It's like you do a Google search and you think, I'm not clicking on that ad because somebody paid for that ad. I'm clicking on this organic search that showed up on the first page. Well, that's paid for also. You're not showing up on the first page unless you're paying somebody to do your SEO. So what's the difference?
So sometimes we're very careful at the agency. We have a policy that we don't click on. Certainly, we don't click on our own clients' ads. We don't click on our competitors' ads either, because literally, it's like, if people are paying $5 a click, you're literally, if you're not interested and you click, you're taking $5 out of their wallet. Right? They're literally paying for that. So we say we're not going to get involved with that. We don't need to. We can usually find the page anyway in other ways. But one of the times that I will click on an ad is when I'm doing a search for myself or for my company, and I think to myself, that guy has written an ad really well. He wants me to click, and I want to click because he matches exactly what I'm talking about. If I get to that page, I'm pretty likely, based on that ad, to actually buy it. Now I'm okay with charging him $5 because I am his target market now. Right? Once you see that and you see that somebody connects with you properly, you want to click. And when I get there, and if it's not the thing that he described in the ad, I'm kind of mad with him. And I'm like, you know what? You made me cost you $5, but it's your fault because you said in the ad that it was this and then you changed it. And it's actually a major issue with advertising in general and with Google Ads in particular is to match up the ad with the landing page. You can't say in the ad that it's $1,200 for something. And then when they land there, it's like, well, it's $1,200, but of course we have to do all the prep work and that's gonna be an extra $500. Don't do that. Either say $1,700 straight away. Don't start messing with them. They should be very consistent. Ad and landing page have to match up. And usually, of course, we ourselves have problems keeping that in order. But generally, I see that as one of the biggest problems with Google Ads. And that, I think, is when people get very dissatisfied with it. And Google Ads does as well. Google Ads only wants people to be happy. If you click an ad and you bounce from the page, meaning you leave within 5 seconds, that gives a ding to that ad. That ad is going to drop in position now because of that. They want to see that you like the ad and that the landing page was also good quality so that you stay. Like, Google is focused on consumer above all. The searcher must find what they want. And if they're not finding that, whatever they found is going to drop down the rankings.
Very interesting. So if you exaggerate or kind of schnuckle-duckle with the facts in your ad just to get a click, Google will find out?
Yes, especially schnuckle-duckle.
Good. They always find out.
That's in Google's rules.
Oh, too funny. Well, hey, this is great information. I know we're only touching the tip of the iceberg. Well, you live in Miami, so there are no icebergs there. Here in Baltimore, I think there are icebergs forming in the harbor right now. It's about 25 degrees. But not literally, but figuratively, we're only touching the tip of the iceberg. If somebody wanted to find out more, find out what it's like to work with you or how you can help dentists, how would they get a hold of you?
Sure. So they can go to webmarketingfordentists.com. And the 4 is FOR, or they could actually text me, text me 786-529-5955, 786-529-5955.
But don't text David Herman and say, hey, that does not sound like a Miami accent, because he'll just get really frustrated. And I'll tell you right now, he's here by way of Manchester, England, a really cool city for music and football, or soccer as we call it. So.
Right, but a really cold, wet, and gray city. And that's why there are many Mancunians here in Miami, actually. There's a whole bunch of us, and Londoners as well.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, David. Actually, if you're listening to this podcast, I know some people listen to them months after they come out, but if you're listening to this podcast before, I don't have the dates with me, before early March 2021, we'll actually be doing a Maddow Center webinar with David Herman in the next few weeks. So just go to maddow.com, MADOW.com. You can get some more information on that, and he will have some time to go into much more detail and show you some really cool charts and graphs and data points about SEO, pay-per-click, and all other really neat things for dental marketing. So thanks so much. Hey, I want you to stick around because, as you know, at this point in the podcast, we do some mystery shopper calls, and you could have a dentist have the best web marketing, the best SEO pay-per-click. They could be paying 5 cents per lead and be all 12 entries on the first page of Google. But if then somebody who answers the phone at their office doesn't say the correct things, all the money's lost. Agree?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. We're looking for dentists that can persuade. Let's say they generally don't like the word sell, but you have to be able to persuade people, and you have to have a functioning front desk to answer the phone. So let's listen to some calls.
Well, I'll tell you, I did 3 calls this week. I did 3 calls in a row. I didn't cherry pick. I didn't do 10 and just play these 3. I think these are 3 of the shortest calls I've ever done in the history of the Dental Practice Fixers podcast. Each one, I believe, was less than 20 seconds. Now, when I tell you the premise, David, you're not going to believe that somebody at a dental office could mess up this call. But I called an office, or 3 offices actually, and said, can you recommend a toothpaste because I think I'm getting a cavity? Now, if there was ever a patient screaming, I need a dental appointment, it's somebody who calls and says, I think I'm getting a cavity. So let's see how they handle it. Now I'm holding, this is Command Central. I'm holding it up to my AirPods, hoping you can hear this, because we don't have any kind of fancy system where I can just plug you in here. So hopefully you can hear. Let's do call number 1.
Hey, I want to know what toothpaste is the best if I think I might be getting a cavity.
Fluoride toothpaste.
Fluoride toothpaste. Okay, I'll go check that out. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you as astonished as I am?
Yeah, I've been more astonished.
Yeah, haven't we all?
I mean, sometimes we've heard people, that people call about a specific procedure and are told that that's not a procedure they do. It's literally a procedure that they do in the office, and the front desk doesn't know, or whoever's answering the phone doesn't. And the dentist involved, when we told him that, said, I'm going to fire that girl right now. And we said, don't fire her, just educate her, like tell her what it is you do. And sometimes that's the difference, is there's just a presumption that everybody will know exactly what's going on. We always speak to the front desk, because when we start campaigns, we always had the problem of people would call from the campaign. Oh, I see there's this offer and a free consult. And they'd be like, no, that must be a different dentist. And then you're just like tanking the campaign because the front desk doesn't know. So we always speak to them. We always get them involved in the campaign.
So I did that as our mystery shopper calls. Maybe about a year ago, I went on dentist websites and I tried to find websites where they had a new patient special. And I called the office and said, can you tell me about your new patient special? They never knew what it was. So let's do another call here. I think you're going to find it somewhat similar. Maybe there'll be another twist to this one. Let's try.
Please press 1 to continue.
I love the press 1 to continue.
Thank you.
Dr. office, this is Bailey. How may I help you?
Hey, I'd like to know what toothpaste do you recommend if I think I might be getting a cavity? What's the best toothpaste for that?
ClinPro could help a little bit. It's supposed to be a preventative and help with sensitivity as well.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for that recommendation.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
I'm going to have a great day because my cavity's not getting better. And here's the double crazy thing. ClinPro toothpaste, I'm pretty sure, is a prescription product that you have to get from your dentist. So she's not only saying, the patient's not only saying, I have a cavity, what should I do? She's recommending something that they would give a prescription for or distribute in their very office. And she's not inviting the patient to come in.
Yeah. Training, I think, is the solution here.
I'm so glad you said that, because in our several decades of coaching and consulting with dental practices, some people think, I'm going to call in a consultant and they're going to clean house. It is so rare that we recommend that a team member be dismissed. It's frequently that we say, hey, let's have our coach work with this team member on this skill, because we give everybody the benefit of the doubt. We never come in and say, you're an idiot, you have no chance of succeeding, just get the hell out of here. We say, let's train them. So, all right, let's do one more call, just for fun here. I don't know if this is fun anymore.
How can I help you?
Hey, could you recommend which toothpaste will be best if I think I'm getting a cavity?
What kind of toothpaste they'll pass out for that? They pass out gum toothpaste here in the office. Anything with fluoride in it is going to be helpful.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
I have to admit, I am a little surprised. 3 calls in a row saying, I think I'm getting a cavity, and nobody had the common sense to say, well, if you think you're getting a cavity, why don't you come on in and have Dr. Herman take a look at it? I mean, is it really that tough?
What do you think if people at the front desk were incentivized, and maybe these people are incentivized, but they're incentivized by number of new patients coming through the door every month? Let's say your average is 20, and you say to your front desk, this month we're going to give you $10 for every new person that's in my chair over the 20. Let's say over 20 new patients. Have you seen that work?
I've seen it work short term. And again, I'm not a huge believer in bonus systems. Some practices that we work with have successfully used bonus systems, and all of our coaches are adept at instituting bonus systems should the office want that. But I think, as you said, I don't know. I just feel like you shouldn't have to bribe somebody to know that if somebody calls and says, I think I'm getting a cavity, that they should say, why don't you come on in?
Right.
Just my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. No, they should definitely be saying that. They should be looking for opportunity. If a dentist, called us and said, what would you recommend as a hosting solution for a website? We wouldn't say, oh yeah, go use GoDaddy. Well, we wouldn't say that anyway, but we would obviously say, tell me more about your problem and where is that website? Let me take a look at it. but we're a bit more solution oriented, maybe. They should be solution oriented as well.
They should be. And tell me more. It's a great phrase. I mean, what if one of these people said, tell me more? Then the patient would have said, well, it hurts every few days. I notice when something cold gets, in my lower right, it hurts a little bit. Then boom, then they've got, well, that's definitely something let's have a look, because usually, if you come in now, it's a simple fix. If you wait too long, it could be much more complicated. Just so many nice things you could say to this patient.
Right. Whenever we talk to the front desk, we never train them as salespeople. In fact, we always say, you are not salespeople, but what you are is you are engaged in the community, and you have some knowledge that you can help people with. So just express concern, find out more, and usually they'll feed you more information, and you'll be able to work out if you can help them. But just be really helpful, as you would be to a friend. These are people in your community. They're just friends you haven't met yet.
Friends you haven't met yet. I love that. But it's so funny. If I went to a friend of mine and said, hey Jim, I think I'm having some sensitivity in my tooth. What do you think about that? My friend Jim would probably say, oh, you should go to a dentist. My dentist is great. I'd like to recommend her. But here you call an actual dental office and they don't do it. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Right. It is crazy. And some of it is also about how attached the front desk is to the dentist. I have an old friend who's been a client many times over the years. And because I knew him when he was just starting as a dentist, I always thought of him as, not being, not the best. He's just a guy I know. It happens that his front desk convinced me about how great he is because of the things they said about him. They were amazed. They'd worked at other places. They're like, we've never seen treatment we've never seen somebody work with the patients like he works with them. So I was sold on it. I was like, yes, okay, great. I've got a campaign idea for you because of what you're saying. It was important to me. If it's important to me, of course, it's going to be more important to the patients. But it's amazing the power the front desk has to sell you on who the dentist is. It's just a superpower.
It's interesting. And we're going to wrap up pretty soon. And I want you to tell people how to get in touch with you one more time. But a few months ago, I did mystery shopper calls, and I just called and said, can you tell me something about the dentist? And not one person sold me on how great the dentist was. They would all just say he's been here 8 years and he went to University of Michigan. Like, big deal. I'm going to assume my dentist graduated dental school. That's kind of an assumption I'm going to make here. Nobody could really brag on their dentist, as they might say in the South. They couldn't brag on them. And I was really surprised. And they probably all could have. I'm sure if you asked that person, tell me 10 great things about your dentist. Well, if they work there, they're presumably happy. I'm sure they could have done that. But nobody had the wherewithal to do that. So that was kind of sad too.
Yeah, it is sad.
Yep. Well, hey, we're at Dental Practice Fixers. We're trying to fix that 1 week at a time, and I'm looking forward to the day that so many people listen to this podcast that we can't get a bad mystery shopper call. But until then, it looks like most of them are pretty pathetic. I hate to say, but anyway, you're listening to the Dental Practice Fixers because you're interested in learning to see what's going on in other dental practices and how you can fix that in your practice. And I hope it's helping. And we really appreciate all of our listeners. So tell your friends, if you want to go give us a good rating online, that would be fantastic. You can watch us on YouTube, listen on Apple, Spotify, all the regular podcast places. So thanks so much for being a listener. And I also want to give special thanks to our guest this week, David Herman, founder of Web Marketing for Dentists. How could somebody reach out to you one more time?
So webmarketingfordentists.com, written out longhand, or text me, 786-529-5955, 786-529-5955.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge. I'm Dr. Richard Maddow, co-founder of the Maddow Center for Dental Practice Success, and thanks again for being with us on the Dental Practice Fixers podcast. See you soon.